Every tragedy has roots buried in choices, circumstances, and consequences. The story of David, a young man from Ebonyi State who rose to become the feared number one of the Vikings Confraternity at Ebonyi State University, is one such tale. His eventual execution at the hands of Black Axe members in retaliation for past executions is not just another headline. It is a chilling reminder of the cycles of violence consuming Nigerian campuses. This channel does not glorify cultism. It seeks only to document, analyze, and educate. Now let's continue. David was not born into violence. He hailed from Ebonyi State, where his parents hoped education would secure him a brighter future. Friends described him as intelligent, witty, and ambitious. But at Ebonyi State University he was drawn into the Viking Confraternity, partly for power, partly for survival. Within 2 years his charisma and daring pushed him through the ranks. He became the number one man of Vikings, the leader and decision-maker. To his peers he was both feared and respected. With that power came both prestige and deadly responsibility. Under David's tenure, confrontations between Vikings and Black Axe members intensified. Ebonyi State University, like many Nigerian institutions, had become a battleground of supremacy between rival confraternities. 2 Black Axe members were executed during clashes. Whether David directly ordered the attacks or not, his leadership tied him to the violence. To Black Axe, their brother's termination demanded vengeance. Authorities intervened and David was arrested. But in Nigeria's complex justice system, evidence was hard to pin down. After a few months, David was released. Freedom should have been a fresh start. For David, it was merely a countdown. After a few months in detention, he walked out of the police station into the humid Ebonyi air, thinking he had escaped doom. But confraternity culture remembers. Retaliation is not forgotten. Even after he retired as Vikings' former number one, David remained a marked man. For 5 months, Black Axe watched him. His movements, his routines, his vulnerabilities. They were patient, biding their time. The day came without warning. Eyewitnesses say David was trailed near the campus. The Black Axe strike was swift, cold, and merciless. He was ambushed and shot multiple times, the sound of gunfire echoing through the streets. For onlookers, it was both terrifying and surreal. The man who once commanded fear was now lifeless on the ground. For Black Axe, it was vengeance. For David's family, it was devastation. The Ebonyi State Police moved quickly. Yellow tape marked the scene. Officers collected shells, interviewed frightened witnesses, and tried to calm the crowd. The university went into panic mode. Parents flooded their children's phones with calls. The authorities vowed to track down those responsible, but for many, trust in the justice system was already broken. David's family was shattered. To them, he was not a number one, not a cult leader, he was their son, their brother, their cousin. His mother wept uncontrollably, neighbors whispered, and the community wrestled with grief mixed with fear. For the families of the 2 Black Axe members who had passed away earlier, David's execution may have seemed like justice. But in reality, the tragedy only deepened. 3 families destroyed, 3 futures erased, and a community scarred. At Ebonyi State University, the atmosphere shifted overnight. Students whispered about the execution, some too afraid to attend classes. Many stayed indoors after dark, knowing that retaliation could ignite another wave of violence. Parents urged their children to avoid gatherings, to stay away from confraternity recruitment traps. Professors worried about declining attendance. The institution itself was haunted. As a researcher of cultism for over 10 years, one pattern remains clear. Violence breeds violence. Every execution demands another. Every execution sparks retaliation. David's departure was not the end. It was a continuation of a cycle stretching back decades, where young men trade their futures for fleeting power, and families bury their children too soon. Until the root causes, poverty, insecurity, weak justice systems, and toxic peer influence, are confronted, universities and communities will remain breeding grounds for violence. David's story is both personal and universal. He was once a boy with ambitions, turned into a leader within the Vikings Confraternity, then marked as an enemy by the Black Axe. His execution was the climax of a story rooted in vengeance, loss, and broken systems. 3 young men are gone. 3 families grieve. An entire community is left shaken. This story is not to glorify violence but to serve as a warning. Cultism destroys lives, communities, and futures. Until serious action is taken, David's story will probably not be the last.